Everything's ready.
Is she coming in, or? All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Okay. Director Cicada? Here. Director Davidson?
Here.
Director Ratterman?
Here.
And President Underhill is on her way, and Director Thomas is not on yet.
All right. First item on the agenda is public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. Is there any public comment today? Is there anybody online? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of minutes for the board meeting of October 28th. Review of Board of Directors monthly timesheets. Ratify the claim summary 584. Report on monthly investment transactions of October 2020.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Okay, we have motions. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I don't do polls on claim summary.
Okay, aye.
I don't do it on the consent agenda. And things that I think are going to be non-controversial. So anyway, all those in favor say aye. 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 No opposed. That passes 3-0. Okay, we'll move on to new business 4A, discussion action to approve amended memorandum of understanding between Calaveras Unified School District and Calaveras County Water District to provide sewer service at Jenny Glen Elementary. Do we have a representative from them today?
I don't believe Hugh is going to be here today. This is a pretty straightforward one. I think it was just the engineering committee. I was trying to remember if Hugh gave a presentation to the full board recently. But just a quick overview or background reminder for the board. The project that Calaveras Unified has been working on for quite some time. Hugh Logan is the project manager for the project. They've received a grant to install a new force main rather than manage their own wastewater treatment facility at Jenny Lind Elementary School. They received a grant to install a new force main to connect to our Huckleberry lift station so that they're sending the wastewater over to us instead of them having to maintain their own facility. We signed an MOU in 2018, and they have since made progress with the water board in terms of lining up the funding and designing the project since then. They're in the final stages. They're at the point now of a final funding agreement with the water board, and the water board had requested some changes to the MOU. These are minor changes, just clarifying that mainly what the water board was after is if the grant funding that they receive as a part of the initial application is not enough to fully fund the project, that we wouldn't just give up at that point. We would pursue other funding, whether there may be other funding within the water board that's available, or pursue other sources of funding to ultimately commit to completing the project. So there's the minor change in language to commit to pursuing the project, even if the grant funds are not adequate to cover the full cost of the project. And we added some language there to make sure that doesn't mean CCWD is kicking in money to pay for the project, but we will cooperate with them in pursuing other sources of grant funds. One other minor change in the language was just clarifying that if CCWD is doing engineering review or construction inspection services, that we're entitled to reimbursement for those costs.
You know, I read it, and I think it's all fine. The only comment I would make is when you have a change, if you could do it in red line so we could see kind of where the change was. Other than that,
Is that Bertha outside? It doesn't look like she figured out how to get in.
that open that door.
Sorry about that.
Yes, absolutely, we can do that for you, yeah.
But I was reading it, if I saw the red line, I wouldn't have any questions.
Yep, that's a good point. So
Okay, everybody,
pretty-
thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
He's so cute.
So this is one actually, President Underhill, we've already discussed a little bit, so you were up to speed on the update, the revisions to the MOU with Jenny Lind Elementary and that sewer project. So pretty minimal changes, but just kind of stuff that the water board wanted to see to help move it through the process.
But
Gave us an
what are the
opportunity.
substantial changes again?
It was paragraph 2, let me see, let me make sure I have the paragraph numbers right.
It's for, I think that one just said that if they don't have enough funding, that we can still pursue it.
Yep. Yeah, so, the changes, are in the, well, but let me make sure those include our, yeah, those are the changes. So paragraph 2 amended to clarify that we, CCWD agrees to cooperate in the pursuit of supplemental funding sources, but doesn't obligate CCWD to provide the funding for the project. And then paragraph 8 was amended. It used to say in there that we would cover our own costs. We took that sentence out and added the second sentence. CCWD will be compensated for any engineering and construction inspection costs that we deem necessary. And then they wanted to add the reference to the funding agreement, which is pretty standard stuff. So that is, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Make a motion to accept the changes to MOU.
You want me to finish this item? Bertha, do you want me to finish this item? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public discussion? Any further board discussion? Please call the roll.
Okay. Director Cicada?
Yes.
Director Davidson?
Yes.
Director Ratterman?
Yes.
President Underhill?
Yes.
All right, we're on 4B, Bertha.
Okay.
Four B. Discussion action regarding AMI fixed network for Ebbets Pass, Wallace, and Sheep Ranch service areas. Oversized radio read meters. Mr. Kevin?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I should have copies.
Thank you.
Yeah, I put new batteries in.
Is
Is this the same?
this one,
Oh, yes, should be same.
it's the same one?
Oh, sorry,
Number right.
you guys already got it. Sorry?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so today we're gonna talk about the fixed network AMI for, Ebbets Pass, Sheep Ranch, and Wallace, and also, updating our oversized meters. So, kind of, if you wanna go to the next slide.
You have that.
Oh. Sorry. Okay, so the kind of difference between we're gonna talk about the difference between the drive-by, data collection with AMR and, AMI system. And then we'll go over the benefits that we see for the upgrade to the fixed network AMI. And then we'll talk about what is included in the change order to upgrade the to AMI. And then, why the AMI for Ebbets Pass, Sheep Ranch and Wallace wasn't included in the original contract. And then we'll compare the cost, the contractor is asking for on the changeover versus what, the rest of the district is. And then, we'll look at the monitoring costs for the AMI, and then we'll discuss upgrading the meters over 1.5 inches or 1.5 inches and above. And then the Tyler mass meter exchange. So basically, drive-by data collection is what our current plan is for Ebbets Pass, Sheep Ranch, and Wallace. Basically, you drive by in a vehicle with a radio antenna on top, and it collects it, and then all the meter data is hosted here locally on our server. The next is what we're looking to upgrade to for this area would be the automated fixed network. So our meters and communicate directly with the data collectors. And it goes to the Citrix server, and then it goes directly to our Tyler CIS system. It's all automated. And also,
Just one, so the drive-by, you have a truck there with an antenna on it. The other way is it communicates via like the cloud or something like that, without a truck being there.
yeah, we put up antennas all over the service areas, and so we have repeaters and antennas that would automatically collect the data, either daily or on demand if you want.
But it would work like the wireless internet and the cloud, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's very similar to like your PG smart meter type deal.
Are we confident that we can, that we have property that is adequate to put antennas up to reach the whole area?
Yeah, we can put it, the contractors identified 22 locations within the Ebbets Pass area where they want to put antennas, and 12 of those are on our property, and the rest would be in the public right of way.
And we can do that in the public right away?
Yes, we spoke with the county.
Has joined the meeting.
And those are adequate locations, because I know at one time we started talking about the fact that we didn't have enough.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the slide here, but that was one of the original thoughts was
Right,
during
right.
the project development. This particular contractor, System Mueller, works a lot better because they have the repeaters and that type of stuff that some of the other systems don't have, so they're able to get the little remote areas. So basically, the benefits of the fixed network is that we already talked about you don't have to drive by, so we don't have to, and they also work well in the snow. Communicates directly to the CIS system, talking about that, and then we can get the real-time water usage information. So leak detection, this is very important. Because it's live, you can find leaks on the customer side, or if our main breaks, there's a backflow. You can tell the backflow through the meter. So it provides real-time leak detection. It reduces the volume of frustrated customers for ongoing leaks. And also, we don't have to deal with the customers on refunds for leaks.
Okay, excuse me, leak detection during the winter.
Yes, this will do leak detection in the winter. So if you're up in Cap Connell or Dorrington or something, and somebody has a leak in their house, it'll tell us, and we can call their customer and tell them, hey, you got a leak in your house.
And if we have to access our equipment or our infrastructure up there?
Yeah, we'll have we'll put the antennas on our infrastructure. I'll show you a little map of where we're gonna put them all.
Well, but the meters would be showing a leak on their side. But currently, we sometimes can't even read those meters in the wintertime, so it could be months before we're aware.
Or find them.
Right. or
Right,
find-
right, uh-huh.
And then also eventually we can hook up flow monitors and pressure sensors to the same network of antennas. So if we're going in, put a new pipeline in, we want to put a pressure sensor on it, it'll connect and give us alerts if the pressure drops. The remote disconnect meters, Mueller they're the only manufacturer that makes the all-in-one remote disconnect meter option. So there's hard to access areas or meters that have to be routinely shut off. We can swap it out with a meter that has a remote disconnect, so we can push a button here in the office and shut their meter off, or we can slow their flow down to a trickle, so they're able to use water, but they don't know that they have issues with it. So next is, so this change order would provide a complete AMI system district-wide. So this would cover everybody in the entire district.
Let me bring up something a little different. You said we can remotely slow the meters down to a trickle?
Yeah, they make a meter, it's not that, we're not planning on implementing that district-wide, but if there's particular areas that we want for, the meter it comes at additional cost, but we could swap those out. If there's meters that routinely need to be shut off, if there's a dog that's in the area that we can't get to, we can put a different kind of meter in there that works on the same network.
What about for delinquent ratepayers?
Yeah, if we have repeat delinquent ratepayers, we can swap the meters out with these disconnect meters, so we don't have to go out and manually shut off.
How does that square with the state law?
We can't shut anybody off right now.
Well, we're not shutting them
Yeah.
off.
But once that goes back to normal, once that executive order is lifted, we would be able to shut off. But are you referring to SB 998? Yeah,
Yeah,
we would
we
still
can't
have
shut,
to.
we can't shut them off, but can we run them down to a trickle? Because it's a health and safety issue. And
Whether we
I'm
can
just
reduce
throwing
pressure.
this out there as a thought process.
Yeah,
Rebecca?
that's a good question.
So under SB 998, we can actually shut off. Right now, there's a moratorium on any shut-offs right now under the executive order related to COVID. But at some point, that order is going to sunset or is going to be lifted, that executive order.
Oh,
And then
great.
we're going to have to follow SB 998. SB 998 allows us to shut off. There is a protection for
Health and safety.
elderly, health and safety, but we can actually limit the amount of water that they have, and, when they're in a delinquent status, because we can't completely shut the water off. However, if they're not in that protected classification, we can definitely shut it off.
But this equipment will give us that opportunity.
It'll give us the opportunity, and we don't have to have staff physically go out and do it, shut it off, or physically go out and turn it back on. And we know, just from history, there are particular properties that it's all the time.
It even seems like it might become a deterrent just to say that if you are a repeat problem, that we're going to put a limiting device on your meter. And I think that might just be an encouragement factor to get those people back on track.
I wonder if it would bring up a comment, oh, you're picking on me because of whatever reason.
Because you're not
And we
paying
are
your
in
bill.
California. I know, no, I agree with you, but California is such a litigious state. Are we gonna be able to say that we're not being racist on particular people by doing some of those meters on ones? I mean, yes, we could say it is based on their water use, but what is California gonna let us do?
I just
Well,
want to,
let's have that discussion another time, but it's certainly worth exploring what our options are with this new equipment.
yeah, well, I just want to clarify here before we go too far down this path. This is not a part of this proposal.
No.
These
Oh, I
meters
know.
are not, these meters are not included in this change order. That would come at an additional cost, something that we could do down the road. But we're not proposing to add any of those meters as a part of this change order.
But it is, but in terms of this conversation, it's a discussion point, because we can do that with AMI, we can't do that with AMR.
Yeah, also, I'd like to have a discussion about the governor's executive orders and how valid they
Well,
are.
no, I think that's a very good question about, whether we
There's a
can,
handful of them I'd like to do away with. This is one of them.
that's a whole other discussion. But I think it's a good question as to whether even under the governor's executive order, now we know we can't shut anybody off until that order is lifted, but could we reduce pressure is another question.
Okay, sorry to sidetrack us.
Okay. And this is, the network's expandable in the future, so if there's another development that comes that's outside of the current network, you can add feeders or more data collectors. It allows us to identify conservation efforts. Currently, we put out press releases, website postings, Facebook, but we have no real way to tell until we get the meter readings if we're actually conserving. So this would give us real-time status on conservation efforts. And also, it gives us an ease of water audit reporting, so we know how much water is being used on high consumption days, or on months of high consumption, especially up in the Evans Pass area where we don't really have a good idea with so many weekend homes and that type of stuff. We don't have a good idea of like how much water we're using on different times, what our peak flows are. So right here, basically this is a map of where all the data collectors are the green and yellow, and then the whites would be repeaters. So basically, in the different colors, the areas, the different strength of the signal. So you can see the sheep ranch is on this map also. Walls is on a different map, but it only has one data collector and a couple repeaters.
And this gets to your question, President Underhill, about, initially we were kind of operating under the assumption that it would be very difficult because of the topography in the past to install an AMI system. But this is based on, they actually went out and did the propagation study and identified the locations. So this is information that we didn't have when we initially scoped the project. So that's what the change order request is based on. They actually went out and did the work to figure out what the network would have to look like.
Mueller themselves.
Yes.
Were we wrong in many cases?
Well, it's not that we were wrong. I think we
Or,
were right
things were
in the assumption that
mislocated
it is difficult topography and it's going to require a lot of data collectors and a lot of different repeaters. No, I think that assumption is accurate. And I don't think anybody ever said it couldn't be done. It was just a question of how to do it, and this is the answer to that question.
Yeah, so
I have a question, Mr. Scott. Regarding that, the Mueller did that study and provided us, with information allowing us to move forward with AMI. Have they provided any sort of a guarantee or, or did we do that study with them to verify that those repeaters are accessible and will work with these meters and get reports back to us without using a drive-by?
So Kevin, I think from Mueller is actually on the call, so if maybe he can answer this question for us.
Sure. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Happy Veterans Day. I'm Kevin Corneo. I am with Mueller, based here in Las Vegas, California, Hawaii, and Nevada. For the Ellis Pass area, what we did is we take a topographical representation from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and we overlay that with vegetation study, density, as well as climate. And we do a lot of overlays on the maps. We have an algorithm based on our radio frequency and how it propagates through these different types of topography and vegetation and climate, and we make these general assumptions. So oftentimes when we do these propagation studies, well, we have eyes on it, and we think that we have the best possible location. In some cases, they may move 50 feet down the road this way if they're in a right-of-way, or maybe there is underground electrical or something that prohibits us from putting things in certain places. But these are all approximations. And the system, when we do a propagation study, when we provide you with this data and this map, it shows the RF frequency and the reach, we back that up. So there will be no additional cost or any additional network infrastructure cost to make this system work for you in the Evans Pass area. We're that confident in our propagation studies and the technology we use for the RF frequency balancing.
Is it also true, besides Evans Pass, does that also include the Wallace and Sheep Ranch service areas as well, Kevin?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin Williams, for giving me that answer.
Excuse me, I had a question on the 6493 meter locations. That's not strictly Evans Pass, that's all-inclusive.
That's Evans Pass, I believe. That's the,
Well, I think that's Ebbets Pass, Sheep Ranch, and Wallace,
Yeah,
but
Sheep Ranch.
mostly Ebbets Pass, yeah.
yeah. So, kind of what Kevin talked about, we were working with several different AMI vendors in developing this project, and some of the vendors warned us against going with Evans Pass. It's kind of one of the reasons we left it out originally, but with the technology of Mueller, we're able to get it done. So that's kind of what we talked about already. And then during the project development, we did a budget cost based on the information we got from various different vendors, and put together a budget. We didn't think that Evans Pass would be affordable as part of this project, but it turned out we came in under budget. So the fixed network, we kind of calculated the cost for Evans Pass, Sheep Ranch, and Wallace per meter connection, and it came out to about $56 per connection to upgrade to AMI. And then we looked at the rest of the other areas that are already included in the original bid, and it came up to $50.84 per connection. So the price is comparable to what we got an original bid and what we're asking for the change order.
And why would it not be the same?
Because it's,
Topography,
there's more.
yeah.
But
No, I'm just saying topography.
More
For
network,
connection, is that why it didn't?
more network infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah, it requires more antennas and stuff for, because of all the pockets in the topography.
Okay.
Right.
And then the AMI network, we already talked about that, there's a slight reduction in the cost when you go over 10,000 meters. So this is all the information from the meter reads all hosted on the Citrix server from Mueller. So they manage the network, so we don't have to have any IT people involved with managing the network. And then they also alert us if there's any problems in the network, or if something needs to be done to make any fixes or anything like that, or if we add more meters, they help us figure out what we need for collection equipment.
If their network went down, say all of our network went down everywhere from something awful in our country, can you still get out there and read meters, or would it be, well, maybe it's not important, everything else has gone south, I don't know.
Yeah, one thing that I kind of skipped over, I think, was that these meters are neither to be set to AMI or AMR. So in the event someday down the road that the AMI thing, like you're saying, everything turns upside down, they could be set back to the radio read and
Or they could be read manually anytime, right? Yeah.
Okay, excuse me, and these screens are going to be located where?
these screens are at Mueller. I can't remember what state they're in, but they're in the United States, and they have a monitoring system where they monitor everybody that has Mueller systems. They monitor all their networks to make sure there's no problems with it. So they come and they'll call us and say, hey, you got an issue, or they'll send us an alert that a repair needs to be made, or there's a leak, they found a leak, or if they can reroute the signal. So if, like, say one of our data collectors gets struck by lightning, right, then they can reroute the signal to the other data collectors. So this system is built with redundancy. So like 88% of the meters talk to multiple different data collectors. So that way, if one goes down, you're still getting most of the reads. So there's,
On this system, is it like public access, meaning that I could say, I want to know how much this area is using in water, and I'm going with the fact, are we helping the state to determine how much water everybody needs to use by this type of a system in there? Can the state make Tyler give out information of data use?
I don't know as far as the law, but I know that the information will be available here at the office. And also, down the road, if there's a drought or some kind of other issues where we have conservation measures, we can, for additional cost, they have a customer portal where the customers can monitor their daily, but that's not part of the original contract.
I mean, we already have.
We have reporting
anyway,
requirements
Yeah.
anyways. We don't typically break it down to the customer level, and I don't think the state cares at that particular level. But we report all of our usage anyways.
I
Yeah.
get that.
And then the other thing is the original contract didn't have oversized meters because there's a lot of variations in the oversized meters.
So hold on real quick, Kevin, sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to, we're shifting to a different topic, so I just want to see if, at this point, if there's any questions from the board on the AMI network. And as Kevin mentioned, the bid for the total project cost came in well below what we had initially anticipated. And Mueller informed us after we accepted their bid that they are capable of doing AMI district-wide, and so that's kind of why we started pursuing, what the cost of this would be to really take full advantage of having radio read meters. So that's how this all came about. It is there is cost here. I think it's about $350,000 for the additional AMI network, but there's a lot of benefit there as well. So I just wanted to stop here and see if the board had any questions on this point.
I had heard a comment from you or somebody that you can detect leaks quicker, and Bertha, I think you made a comment. So can you identify those leaks in the winter time? So I'm wondering if a leak is identified do we have a policy now that a customer can get a refund if we bill them when they have a leak? Or is it they have to pay it regardless? Or I'm kind of wondering where the benefit is for the customer, if any, to be able to have that service.
Yeah, so our policy right now is you can, when you get your bill, because that'll be the first time you would even know that you had a leak. The only other time is if at the time that the meter reader physically goes out and they see water in the meter box, or they see standing water somewhere on the property, they will many times leave a note, leave a tag on the door to say, hey, you have a leak. Or they'll come back and talk to customer service, and customer service will physically call the customer to say, hey, it looks like you might have a leak. But until that bill comes in, that's the first time the customer really has any push to actually get it resolved, because if they get a bill with 150,000 CFUs on it, that's pretty substantial, and the bill is pretty substantial. So at the time that they call us, we'll do a leak adjustment on the one bill. But if you think about it, it's been going on for 2 months. And it's been going on from the time that the meter got read to when the bill actually goes out to when the customer actually pays their bill. There's been this really elongated time period. So there's already gonna be a leak of consumption on the next bill that's gonna come out 2 months from now. So there is the ability for us to deal with these on a much quicker basis, because the frustration we get from customers is they didn't find out about it until, 2.5 months down the road. Then we did the one leak adjustment, but then they have to call back because on their next bill, there's an additional consumptive portion related to the leak. But our policy limits it to that one bill. Not the continued.
It's a one-time,
It's
a
right,
one-time
right.
offer.
Even though it's related to the same problem, is that something you could look at to change, or?
We certainly could. We didn't want to until we can get to this point, because, otherwise it just keeps happening. And we also want to make sure that customers take responsibility for their side of the meter. And so what we continue to kind of find right now is if we allow repetitive forgiveness on bills, customers do not resolve their issue. So they'll continue to let a leak go. They will continue not to install a customer shut-off valve. And so they expect our staff to come out and shut their water off for them, or turn
Let's
their
see
water
though,
off.
at one time,
Almost all of the leaks are irrigation related. They're not in the house. Very rarely are they in the house. It's either the line going up to the house, or people leave their irrigation on during the wintertime and they don't realize, it. And I mean, it's rarely.
and the meters that you want to install will address the irrigation.
No, but
Well, they're just residential consumption.
what it allows them,
Same
to do is if they see that meter running at night, or if the computer sees it running at night, they can call the customer
Yeah, I see
and
that,
alert them
right.
like the very first day, and then we either have a leak or we get a pot girl, one of the two.
And I see that, and I think it's a benefit, but I also want to look at it on their end. If we're going to be spending a lot more money, which we could, I want to make sure it's a benefit to them, and it sounds like it would be. And I'm just kind of curious about how many leak adjustments do you do every billing cycle, would you say?
I can't give you a number. I can just tell you, staff spend a lot of time on leak adjustments. They really do. And this really will shorten the window. I think it gives a much more proactive outreach, because we also are utilizing a lot more IVR on outreach for customers. So this information will give us the ability to kick off hey, did you happen to realize, you're using more water than normal? Once we kind of get through this, we also have to internally determine what that variable is, because we can determine what is that difference that we want to keep an eye out for. Is it, 20% above normal, the last 3 months, or is it, 30%, or does it need to be changed based on season? So we'll have some learning on our side to do as well, to determine, we don't want, 80% of the meters to tell us there might, be a consumptive issue.
Well, it's like my PG&E bill, or I don't know if it's a bill or not, it's just a notice, but it comes out and it'll tell me that I am within the energy consumption of houses my size.
Right.
I'm sure we can eventually come up with something like that.
And so with this information, it gives us a lot more data and a lot more opportunity to outreach to customers. And then, you know, at some point in the future, then we can start looking at including that information for actual customer consumption on a regular basis, but yeah.
Because that came up one time about how many customers, you know, do we send notices to? And again, because it is a 2-month billing period, it's very difficult to put a finger on it.
Is the state leaning to have water providers go to this type of thing just to help save in water and whatnot?
They're not necessarily pushing a particular meter technology, but they are definitely increasing reporting requirements and frequency of reporting as well.
Thank you.
So the next one's the oversized meters. So this project includes all the revenue meters, 1 inch and smaller currently. And we have our larger meters. I think we have approximately 43 of them. 1.5 inch to 3 inches. So we want to retrofit these meters with the ultrasonic solid state meters. The reason we want to go with these meters is that at low flow, especially on the larger meters, you get a lot of blow by on the butane disc type meters. So if there's sometimes small trickles won't even register on the larger meters. So in the existing meters we got, they have an average age of 23 years, which is well over the expected lifespan of a meter. And only 10 of them are less than 10 years old. So we looked at retrofitting with radios, but this doesn't really fit our conditions. So
How long have we been at 43 oversized meters? Any,
well, I think there was like 6 of that in the last 5 years or so, but I mean, you've been right around 40 for a while.
What's the length of life for the solid state
Well,
meters?
the meter bodies are, the Mueller ones, I don't know, we have various different meters, and some have life expectancy of, 6 or 7 years, and some have 25 years, but.
I'm talking about the ones that you want to replace them with, so the solid state meter here
Oh,
that you're thinking,
yeah,
what's
they're-
that life expectancy?
All these meters have a 20-year
20
design life, yeah. So that's the battery, and
The
so
battery,
they're warranty
is that one
for,
too?
yeah, they're warranty for 20 years. After 10 years, it starts going down a little bit, because you've already used up half the life on it. But all the meters are warranty that we have are going to be warranty for 20 years through Mueller. And then kind of the numbers are, the quote we got from Mueller was $344,605 for the AMI system that has fast walls at Sheep Ranch. The cost to provide 43 oversized meters is around $38,000. We anticipate that some of these sites that aren't on our facilities will need solar panels. So we'll have to buy solar panels and provide them to Mueller, or we can give them power drop if they're close to power. So we anticipate there'll be costs. We put a lot of solar panels up on our facilities already, so we have a good idea what they cost. And then there's a cost to they gotta do a mass meter exchange, which I don't think is part of this deal here, but Tyler has to do a mass meter exchange in order to update this from Springbrook to Tyler and then Mueller. And so the complete changeover cost would be $423,000. So that would take the project cost up to from 3.9 to 4.3 million. Next is we just talked about that. So this would provide a uniformity across the district, all AMI, improve the information gathering, enhance service, increase conservation efforts, and the ability for the transition, the field staff, from reading meters to helping out with other stuff. And then we got, and then comment was bringing us the 21st century.
That's important, that's important.
Sorry, I'm wondering, why was it decided to research adding this component of the project now and not back in 2018? What changed to make you decide to look at it now?
I think that's what we discussed a little bit before. I think it was two things. It was whether or not it was even feasible to go AMI in this area, and then whether or not the total cost of the project was going to exceed the available financing that we had with USDA. So what I think the new information was both the total project cost came in well under what we anticipated it being, and the conversations with Mueller about the feasibility of using AMI district-wide.
The additional 40,000 in power, that's only for this portion of what you're asking us to change, right? The
Yes.
power's already included in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our customer base, how are we doing on our customer base within the last, couple of years?
You mean, is it growing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not significantly. There's slow growth, I think is the theme.
It is increasing, for sure,
Yeah.
and you've seen that quite a bit over the last year. So we have seen growth. So there is development happening, there is new construction, new builds occurring. It's not, like doubling our population or anything, but we definitely are seeing some growth that we haven't seen in the last several years.
So we're still experiencing the work from home?
Oh.
We're definitely seeing increased
In terms of-
consumption.
In terms of consumptive use,
Mm-hmm.
which means they were already existing customers,
Right.
but they were here on the weekends or, for a couple weeks in the summer, the consumptive use is astronomical right now.
Oh.
So they're not leaving, they're moving up here full time, and so we are seeing just pretty substantial consumption across the district.
Mm-hmm. So this is certainly going to, fit into the scheme to take care of our customers.
Definitely will take care of the customers. I think the benefit is, in the Ebbets Pass area, because of inclement weather, the history has just been, there's probably 2 billing cycles every year that we just don't read.
Right.
And then customers get really frustrated because then when we can read, then we add on that consumptive piece of it, and then their bill spikes up. So if you're not used to that, that's a little frustrating. So prior to having the AMI conversation, when I was looking at, maybe doing what TUD did, which is they average a consumptive use and then just apply it, and then they estimate it and correct it on the next bill, just to do something to alleviate that. But with AMR, it was potentially still gonna be an issue, because if it's inclement weather, we can't get readers up there to drive by, we still potentially have the risk of not being able to read when we need to read. AMI eliminates that, so we really can have accurate, timely information when we need it for billing, for all the consumptive use, so I think that's definitely a benefit to the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And then,
This is Russ, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
You
you.
can't hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Rebecca, on this discussion, Rebecca Callan, on the discussion about how all the bills can spike because of various reasons, and people get disgruntled about that. I remember somebody mentioning earlier that we have meters that are old, and they may be over-reporting or under-reporting. So my question is, will the customer outreach notifications contain any verbiage that would tell people that we are installing this new system. This may result in you getting a slightly increased bill or a slightly decreased bill because of some evidence that we have throughout the system of faulty reading meters. I just kind of want to throw that out there and see if you thought about that.
Yeah, we have, and the meters will always underread, they will never overread. So, that has been a discussion that we will have to focus on some, outreach to customers to let them know that they might see an increase in their consumptive. Especially, we've got, 250-ish meters that don't read. So they've been getting their bi-monthly base rate and with no consumption, and we have no idea what they've been using.
Have they been alerted that?
They
is an issue and you
know,
gotta work on it?
yeah, so we do have to do some outreach to customers to let them know if they haven't been paying for consumption, they're going to be. And especially on a lot of the older meters, they were under-reporting. We know that for a fact. And part of that discussion, if you recall, in the early stages of this conversation, we estimated that, it could be an annual, increase of about, $50,000 to $70,000 per year in consumptive revenue. That is spread across all of our customer base for an entire year, but we get calls when someone's bill is off by $1.35 right now. So it's definitely going to spike an increase in outreach back to us if we don't make sure that it's really well communicated going out to customers ahead of time of these.
But also, they'll be able, I don't know if they'll be able to access it, but we'll be able, if they really have a challenge to this, we'll be able to give them an accurate accounting day-to-day of their water usage.
We will, and we'll have better information that we can say, well, it kind of looks like, on this week, you were really high, or on these particular days. So it gives them the ability to kind of start controlling.
And it also gives them the ability to monitor their water usage to below the inclining rate structure.
Well, I hope that customer service is trained on how to respond to these calls when they come in.
Yep. Yes.
Listen, be considerate, and don't say, sorry, that's all the way it is.
Yeah.
Something's gotta be.
And they've been really good since the whole COVID issue happened. We've just had a tremendous amount of calls because why is my bill so much higher than it was? And they will talk to the customer and say, well, did you happen?
Because your kids are home all day long.
Are you spending more time at your house?
You guys are
Did your
home all
kids
day.
move back home with you? Did your, extended family move back? Oh, well, yeah. Okay, well, that's the difference.
Just help them work it through in their
Yeah.
mind of what's going on and say, sorry, that's the way we read it, it's right, you're wrong.
No, every time we go through a rate increase, we experience this, and so
Well, we
we
know
want to.
that CCWD does not have the best customer service experience, and we are trying to work on that. So I just want to make a comment
Yeah.
to make sure that, everybody's on the same page. Customer service is first. We can agree to disagree on that.
Yes,
So
and I think they have made a concerted effort to work on
I'm not saying they
customer.
haven't,
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's some work to do.
Well, this gives them a lot more information, and that's all we can really do to the client, the customer, is to give them the accurate information. And we haven't had that sort of data before, so. I'm certainly still in positive of all, of this whole program. So where do we go from here?
Before somebody jumps in with a motion, I have another couple of questions. Okay. This probably is for Michael or perhaps Fred Waves. We've got 13,000 meters out there that we're gonna change out. I haven't read the contract that, you guys are on top of that, but who's gonna own the brass meters that they're taking out? Because I'm figuring that there might be 40,000 pounds of brass.
Yeah, Mueller is gonna return the meters to us, so we'll have them.
Okay, but have you thought about the price of brass and how you could probably pay for this,
We're going to melt them down and make coins with each of the directors' profile on the coins.
And make what?
Coins with each of your profiles on it.
Little medallion?
Yeah. No, we definitely took that into account.
All right, just don't forget about it. And the other thing is that the recommended motion doesn't mention in its text the $39,000 for the water meters. It is mentioned in the resolution, but it's not in the motion, so that's just maybe somebody else pay attention to that.
The reso in here?
We'll let you make that motion, how about that?
Excuse me, are we pretty up, okay, you've been in contact with Amador and you did Tuolumne. Is this pretty much state of the art as far as Calaveras is concerned for this system?
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that have had AMR for a long time, like Blue Lake Springs has AMR, they do the drive-by, up in the Arnold area. And then, a lot of people have already switched to AMR, some people are transitioning to AMI, so.
Yeah, I think we'll be probably on the forefront of it once we go. Damon and I have talked about this. How it can be kind of a unsettling feeling sometimes to be considered cutting edge, but because we don't want to get too far out in front. But we feel really confident in what this proposal is. But I think as far as Mountain County agencies go, at least the recent trend has been to go with AMR. But I think as the technology evolves, more and more agencies will do what we're doing here. And Russ, I appreciate you pointing that out. I think as long as the reference in a motion is to this resolution, then we should be covered. That dollar amount of a change order actually is within staff's signing authority, but we thought since we're considering both of these at the same time, we'd bring it all to the board and package it all at the same time.
Okay.
What you're saying is the verbiage in the recommended motion is satisfactory.
Yes.
And reference the resolution number, which would be what, Rebecca?
74.
Yeah, as long as we have a reference to that, then we should be fine.
Okay, do we have any more questions from the audience? None? And any questions from the board? Okay, we're ready for a motion.
All right, Madam President, I would like to make the motion adopting resolution number 2020. What is the
74.
number?
74.
The 74, authorizing the general manager to sign change orders to contract for automatic meter reading AMR and advanced meter infrastructure AMI, radio read meter project CIP number 11096.
Do I have a second?
Second? Whoever.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Okay,
Did
Director,
you ask for public comment?
Oh, well,
After the
I asked her
motion.
before, but public comment? No?
okay. Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
President Underhill.
Yes.
Could I make a few further comments really quickly? One, I just want to, this is, I think, the board's first introduction to Kevin Cornejo, who's on the phone. And I just want to acknowledge Kevin and thank him for his team has been really responsive. We've had a lot of questions. We've had multiple meetings to go over this stuff, and especially because of the transition to Tyler at the same time. And Kevin and his team have been great. So board meet Kevin, Kevin meet board, and thank you, Kevin, for your responsiveness.
Very kind words, appreciate it.
Also want to acknowledge the staff work that went into this. We went back and forth over this quite a lot. We understand it's a significant additional expenditure, and we don't take that lightly. So we put a lot of work into this, led by Kevin Williams, and just really appreciate the work, all the work that went into it. And I think at the end we came down on it, despite the additional cost, we think the benefits are gonna be worth it. So appreciate the board's support.
Well, this is a big one. This is a very big.
Yeah.
Structural one.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 5A, update on East Side Groundwater Sustainability Agency proposed formation of Joint Powers Authority.
So this is going to be a much faster item than what we had initially anticipated. So what we essentially are postponing this item. This was going to be initially presented to the Board of Supervisors yesterday. Brad and our friend Walt Ward at Stanislaus County put a lot of work into a presentation. The objective was to get back after the last GSA meeting. There was still some question about whether pursuing a joint powers authority was the right way to go. So instead of spending time reviewing a draft joint powers agreement, we wanted to go back to each of the member agencies, make sure everybody's on the same page and supportive of this approach, or not, and get back, kind of step back to that level. Unfortunately, yesterday's presentation to the supervisors did not move forward for various reasons. We had multiple, all in the last minute, conflicts of timing, and so we weren't able to make the presentation yesterday. And we want to start and make sure there's a consistent message that's delivered to each of the boards. So the work of the GSA is still taking place. We will still have another meeting of the GSA to further refine the presentation and the message, and we'll be bringing this back to the supervisors either later this month or early December, and to this board at our meeting in December.
This is the one you told me about.
Yeah, we talked about. So yeah.
I think, good afternoon, directors. I think Mike covered each of the updates and the last presentation yesterday, so we'll have more when we get a chance for the supervisors. I would, however, just add on to point out that in the packet, you'll see a one-page flyer that we've put together that we are looking to make available to not only the Calaveras County staff, the Stanislaus staff, as well as our district and others who are interested, just to look at an overview, say, who are the players, what are the authorities that are being granted to this new GSA, and then some of the information. It's a really useful one-page tool. If you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to Mike or myself.
This is this one?
Yes, exactly. And so it's really important to point out that this new group, we all understand is, we might have to reform our memorandum of understanding, potentially amend it or move to JPA, or there are other governance options we need to discuss, but a lot of that is going to be dependent on what's covered in that flyer in terms of authorities and responsibilities.
On a going forward basis, at one time when we first started this GSA, we had a big meeting and everything, and
Yeah, I think that
are we going
We'll-
to revert back to that kind of a coverage, or no?
was it like a joint board meeting? Yeah, I think that's a great idea at the right time. We want to. The objective of the presentation is to give, like I said, consistent information to each of the governing boards and make sure that everybody's on board before, because it's a lot of work to create a joint powers authority, and make sure everybody is supportive of that effort before we put that work in. So the plan was to present to the different boards individually, but with the same presentation essentially. But I think if we, and I do anticipate us eventually going down that road, And as that gets closer, I think it's a great idea to get all the boards together as we form this new
Yeah, 'cause
entity.
we had a big community meeting in this room, I believe, originally.
Yeah, I think that's a good
And
idea.
invited neighboring agencies. and-
Man, those were the good days when we could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think that is a good suggestion, though. In fact, maybe a joke about being able to bring everybody together, but in some ways, it's actually easier to do now, because we can get everybody on the same, if we needed to do a WebEx call or something.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. 6A. Mr. Damon.
Good afternoon, members of our Hill Directors. Excuse me, I'll be brief with the department report. I do want to highlight that over the month of October, the distribution crews repaired 62 service lateral leaks. And brought the Rancho service area back down into single digits of in-process leaks, which is a great accomplishment in consideration of everything they had going on. So here's one that they worked to complete last month. You can see there's a flare coming out of the main. And this one's important to highlight because you can see just how close the main is in proximity to the driveway apron of the property. It's actually just under it. So when staff encounter a repair like this, they document extensively any cracks or fissures or failures in the driveway apron to make sure that, should things change in the future, we've addressed our issues adequately. Here's one where tree roots grabbed a hold of the poly service lateral and just snapped it. You can see the picture on your left that it was just snapped. And then, so what happened is over time, it found water and followed it to the source. So this was probably a really small leak near the cork stop on the water main at the service lateral. And then it just got a little bit bigger, and as those roots grew, it ended up destroying the service lateral. So that was a full service lateral replacement from the fog line to the center line of the road. And here's another fair on Bain in Rancho. So this was the theme for a lot of the repairs in the month of October in that service area, were these flares that are coming out of the cork stop or coming out of the main, mostly the main, and so a lot of these were failing last month. So one of the ongoing items that the district's been working on, particularly the construction crew, were rehabilitation of roads that had failed during the 2019 February of 2019 atmospheric river storms. This is FEMA funded work, so this is up in West Point at the Valentine Hill Road, which is to our Bummerville tank site. It's about 1,300 feet. This road is complete, this repair, rehab is complete. And this is the Bear Creek Diversion Road, so this is about 1,100 feet. In the picture on the left, it's a little grainy, but you can see the rut down the middle of the road. For the most part, staff walked to the diversion for the past few years. If they had work to do down there, and they would pack in tools because the road just wasn't accessible. And now you can bring a full complement of equipment down below, which is great. So quite a lot of work from our construction crew in the past few months associated with FEMA funded road repairs. This work is now done. We still have the diversion that we need to clean the debris from, but we're waiting on a couple permitting items and we should be able to get that going. This is just an example of a picture of a field trip that operations staff took. What we're currently looking at right now is replacing some recirculating gravel bed filters in Indian rock that are in the ground with these above ground, what are called Orenco pods. Orenco is just the brand. And they take the septic and basically spray it over these geotextile fabric membranes, and they do all the critters that live within the wastewater and eat the organics within the wastewater live inside those membranes. And so this recirculates the water, sprays it over the membranes, and then after it's all based on time, and after a certain amount of time, it'll offload some of that water into, in this case, at Indian Rock, it would be the leach field. And what the benefit this would provide for the district is that we would no longer be treating ground flow or groundwater that's inundating our gravel filters. So over the long term, this would save us a lot in OM and a lot in pumping costs. Here's a picture of what the district implemented for odor control in the Vallecito wastewater plant. We had a lot of calls this last month about odor, and that has happened periodically from the folks in Douglas Flat that live next to the Vallecito treatment facility. And various efforts have been implemented over the years. We feel like this is gonna really go a long way. So what you're looking at is the off-gas vent from an equalization basin. So this big basin with the aluminum lids on top takes all of the sewage, the septage, into a big tank, and it collects it to a certain volume so that you can have a uniform flow into the treatment train. But what happens is as the gases inside vent off, they come out of this vent and they get caught by the wind and they flow right into the community next door. And so we'll get intermittent calls, oh, I smell it in the morning, some people smell it in the evening, some people say for months they have no smell, and then all of a sudden they get knocked out literally when they walk outside. So what this does is it's a screened 55-gallon drum full of granular activated carbon with a blower on top. And the blower actually sucks the air from inside of the EEQ basin through the filter and then pushes it out. Staff that report to work every day in Vallecito, I've already noticed a difference. So we feel like this is going to go a long way towards odor control in Vallecito. And then we touched upon this, I think, when I first came on board with the district, is that we have a couple different subdivisions that have common trench with power and water. And this was a recent encounter that our copper crew had last month with a service lateral repair that had to be made underneath live power, which you see coming out of the white conduit with 3 black lines. And it's important to note how similar the electrical cabling looks to our service laterals. So PG&E has been very receptive to talking about ways that we can eliminate this common trench issue in Poker Flat and up in Big Trees Village. And so right now what we're working on is providing them with our as-bills for the 2 subdivisions, so they can then look at what options they might have in order to eliminate this issue, because this is a big deal.
Will we be eliminating this, or will it just be staying like this?
So my ultimate goal is that we can work with PG&E to eliminate this. And in my experience, I've seen that happen at other utilities. For instance, North Shore Comanche had common trench with the laterals for power to every transformer that was in the transformers happened to be in the front yards of homes, and the water service lateral traveled right next to it. And they were in a common trench separated by about 5 to 6 inches of soil. PG&E came in and redid their entire system to eliminate that exposure to risk.
Can't be safe.
Right.
No.
Chicken there, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, the power obviously went in second in that picture. I mean, they they're pretty liability conscious these days, so.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, so like I said, they've been very receptive. It's just getting that ball rolling to review as-bills, to come up with plans, to look at funding mechanisms in order to complete the work effort. It's gonna be, we're gonna have a lot of conversations about this in the future, which is, I think, a good goal to have, because I think we need to resolve this by hook or by crook. And with that, any additional questions you might have about October 2020 ops, happy to take them now.
Damon, this is Russ. I do have one question.
Yep.
Okay, the 55-gallon drum device that filters that obnoxious odor out, it's filled with some sort of activated charcoal or something, I think you said. But is there a way that that charcoal can be reactivated to burn off the bad stuff that it accumulates, or is it just a throwaway?
So the stuff that we purchased, the carbon that we purchased is throwaway. But in terms of water treatment, you can reactivate granular activated carbon. But with this application, the plan is to just purchase, as the GAC fails, we'll just purchase new to replace.
Okay. And just curious, so thanks for your report.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Damon, thank you for your report. Another good, another busy month it looks like for operations. Thank you for putting this together. It's pretty cool.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy those pictures.
Thank you.
All right. General manager.
Okay, thank you. I've got a few things to run through. One is if Director Ratterman and Davidson and myself seem a little tired today. We just got back from DC and a series of meetings out there, virtual meetings. We
It
simulated
was smooth too. let me
our
tell you.
simulated trip, which actually was nice because we had Brad and Jessica participate in those meetings as well. It makes it easier to incorporate more people because it's with no additional cost.
Yes, of course.
And Mia had a series of meaningful meetings set up for us again, as she tends to do. I think I've got the list right here. We met with a representative from Office of Management and Budget, from Senator Harris's office. We met with Congressman McClintock and his staff, and also met with representatives from the Army Corps. And then we still have meetings set up with more Army Corps representatives and with staff from Senator Feinstein's office. So overall, very productive meetings. And still a lot of emphasis on getting Army Corps funding for Copper Cove wastewater treatment. Had a very lively discussion with Congressman McClintock on that point, and definitely continue to get some pushback from his office. But I think it's overall, it's good to flush the issues out, and it ends up being a productive discussion because I think we can address the concerns that he raises. So
Yeah, he came back around a little bit.
I think in the end, I'd rather have a combative discussion where we get to the bottom of things and get him on board, rather than be placated and
Yeah, no, I thought both you and Mia handled the end of that quite well by explaining to him that, we thanked him for his concerns, and that it was up to us to address, how to resolve those concerns. So
right. I welcome that, rather than just being told that we're being supported and then find out it's not the case later on. So again, like I say, I think very productive discussion, and we've already had some follow-up discussions about how to further address the concerns that were raised. So
Well, to pin him down or to get him included in a meeting, that sounds great to me.
Well, he always gives us really good access, and we always have good discussions with him. I mean, probably is more than anybody, but he's hard-nosed about it. His biggest issue on that deal was, it's a state mandate, and we're asking for federal dollars. And then Michael kind of brought it back to him. Well, it's more than just a state issue, because we have to comply with EPA and the wetlands issues and things of that nature. And that's really how we need to address it. Like, these are, this is, the state has given us this order because of this EPA rule.
right.
And then we'll form it back that way, and then that should satisfy.
And that's what this core program was specifically designed for, is really the points that we need to drive home to them, is even if the state.
There's also, I know there's examples out there. We need to go do a little research on some of the similar projects. I know Mia's really good at, finding those, but we can find a couple of examples of projects that have been funded that are similar. I think that'll go a ways too, because then he's not, inventing a new project.
Right.
It's been done, so.
So there's a process of education, I think, that needs to take place, but I think I'm optimistic we'll get there. And like I said, I'd rather have that discussion than not raise those issues and give us the opportunity to address them. So
Mike was saying, but I think he can't really support two of our new doors proposal.
Yeah, so we talked to him too about New Maloney's and some forest management efforts, because those are things he's.
I think he's very
also
supportive
concerned
of our program there.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but.
Yeah.
I agree with Director Davidson. At the end of that conversation, he seemed very supportive of writing letters that we needed, even making telephone calls that we request, and he was meeting with us in the Copper Cove area. I thought he did what was impressive about it, and I think what I was impressed about anyway about the conversation with him as opposed to anybody else. He knows it well. He was very engaged and even challenged us on it. But I don't think any of that challenge conversation that he did have about state mandated it and why federal paying for it. I don't think that was standing in our way of helping us. So he did make a good point.
Okay.
Continuing on the forest management theme, we had a very good follow-up call with Steve Walensky and Regine Miller at CHIPS, introduced them to Brad and Jessica, and it was fun for me to watch. I told Brad and Jessica later, even over WebEx, I could see all the light bulbs going off in their heads, and just connecting I think establishing those partnerships and getting them engaged is just really exciting for me to see, and I think we're going to make a lot of progress on that front. And discussed with them some ways that we can build on the partnerships that we already have. Including a December, what we're shooting for now, as long as the board members are available and willing to do this, is a December 4th special meeting in the Arnold area. December 4th is a Friday, the Friday before a regular board meeting. So we can hand you your agenda packets. There's reason enough to show up right there, right?
This is at the Lube Room?
This would be at the post-board meeting gathering. It will be at the Lube Room, yes.
What time is that?
We're shooting, we think 1 o'clock is a good time. We're hoping this will be an outdoor board meeting, and we're going to invite, we'll have a list of invitees. What we're shooting for right now is using the space at the outdoor area at the logging museum. There's the outdoor amphitheater there. We think would be perfect for this, to highlight this issue, weather permitting, obviously. So we'll have a backup indoor plan as well. So if that works for the board members, we'll get that on the agenda and get some invites out.
Will you be there?
I just put it on my calendar.
Okay, great.
All right.
Jeff?
I'll be in town.
Okay.
All right, that's great. And been working with Brad and Jessica a lot on really trying to clarify what CCWD's role in those projects has been in the past, and ways that we can build on that and through the partnerships that we have, and ways that we can establish a more kind of robust and organized forest management program and take kind of a programmatic approach to those activities as a part of a broader watershed health program. So that's also something that's really exciting to work on with Brad and Jessica. And so we hope to use that meeting. The primary purpose behind it, the original idea behind it, from President Underhill, was to shine a light on the Arnold Thin project that was just completed, and recognize the folks that we worked with that were really responsible for that project. So that'll be the main purpose still, but we also want to use that opportunity to, as we've discussed with the board, we actually received some revenue from that project through the timber sale. And so establishing a forest management reserve fund and using that money, setting that money aside for those types of activities going forward, and trying to identify other resources that could be made available for that. And then also just kind of articulating and unveiling the programmatic approach that we've been discussing to these topics. So we think that will make for a good forest management themed special meeting, and we'll be reaching out to partners and others in the county that we think will be interested in those activities. So really looking forward to that.
The weather will be beautiful.
And President Underhill has guaranteed us a sunny day, and so we're looking forward to it. Forest management wise, one more thing, there'll be moderating another biomass panel as a part of the upcoming Aqua Conference. So get your Aqua Conference registration requests to Rebecca if you want to participate. It should be another good one. I was, after we talked about after the last one, I had cautious expectations, that's the way I'll put it, maybe, about a virtual conference, and Aqua really exceeded those expectations. They were really,
Yeah.
the programs were really well done.
It worked out very well.
Yeah, so I encourage participation in that, and there will be at least one forest management biomass program, I can assure you. Other news, we have the slurry line survey that we've discussed with the board has gone out or will be going out. It's out.
It's out.
All right. So each of the property owners that own property on the slurry line have received this, or will be receiving the survey, and really looking forward to the feedback we'll get on that. And we scheduled a information meeting for any of those property owners that have questions, November 19th. Yes. We want to make sure, we tried to provide the property owners with a lot of information about what a slurry line connection would include and potential costs, and we want to be available to answer any additional questions before they start providing feedback so that we're getting quality data.
Where are you gonna have that meeting?
The interwebs, unfortunately. Would much prefer to have it in person, but not doable.
How many property owners were there?
83.
83.
83?
Yep. That were either the property that ran through the property or were adjacent to. So we captured a whole list.
Oh, my goodness. And where did you say at the fairgrounds you're gonna have?
Will you invite us to that meeting?
If there's more than two, we would have to notice it, but we can certainly coordinate that if board members want to
Yeah,
be there.
because that's been a subject for years,
Yeah.
and so,
Might be kinda a
yeah.
special meeting or something.
Well, I think definitely it would be great to have at least one or two board members there, but if more than that want to attend, then we can arrange for that as well.
So get the details out to us quickly, and then we can make our,
On what time do you think that was gonna be?
I think it was 5
Yeah, it was
o'clock.
5 o'clock. After
5
the
o'clock.
The first step is we're gonna wait to hear back on interest in the meeting, so I've given them my contact and Michael's info to let us know if they wanna sign up for this meeting. But we have it held on the calendar now.
So yeah, we'll be in touch with the board on that. We'll make sure you have an opportunity to attend if you want to. There were, let me just make sure I don't miss any of the engineering committee meeting items, because we did go over a lot of different projects. We are close to substantial completion on the Reach One project. There's just minimal cleanup items left, but we're pretty much done there, and Techite as well. And we'll anticipate bringing to the board contract, well, we're going to be putting an RFP out for the West Point Wilseyville wastewater consolidation design work. We have positive news on the Jenny Lynn pretreatment front, thanks to our crews, Pat and Mike Samarano and Dylan, right? Cuneo. We're anticipating putting a replacement part that the consultant or the contractor thought was the problem, and just in taking it apart and then finding out the part that they had sent us, it wouldn't fit anyways. They identified what the actual problem was and were able to repair it on their own. that's the 30,000 foot level. We can give more details in the future, but seems to be on track. So we're still working with the contractor to make sure that it'll be fully operational, but there's been positive news on that front. And then, let's see, a couple other items. Good EPOC meeting where we introduced Brad and Jessica as well. The one other Aqua item, we're participating in a work group that is essentially a discussion between Aqua and Aqua members, a handful of Aqua members in the State Water Board on how they can better curtail water in the next drought, because it didn't go so well the last time. So very interesting discussion, and it's great to have Brad and his background in that discussion group, and Dave Cameron's participating in it as well. Lastly, Jessica, in her first week, got a grant application in for us in response to PSPS funds that have been made available. And I hate to put you on the hot spot real quick, but could you give a quick overview on just what exactly the grant application was for? Sure. Yeah.
The title of the grant was CCWD Great, as in Generator Risk Assessment Plan and Education on Water Conservation. So it was two different parts. We were kind of going into it with the thought process of purchasing replacement generators. However, currently CCWD, where we prioritize generator replacements, did not fall in disadvantaged communities. So the likelihood of getting those funded is minimal at the moment. So instead, we changed the focus, because this funding source also will fund risk assessment plans as well as education and outreach. And just in my experience, if there's any funds for education and outreach, I always try to jump on it because it's minimal. So one component is pushing to educate our customers on why they should conserve water during these PSPS events. It's one thing to just say conserve water, but no one's really going to do it unless they understand how it affects them. So that's one big component. And the other component is actually developing a generator risk assessment plan with a risk assessment matrix so that operations is able to really understand which generators need maintenance more than others, so that we can prioritize more efficiently.
Great,
Do
thank
we
you.
have, generators of different ages, and, that's where you're,
Yes, we do. We have approximately 85 generators, give or take, and they're all different shapes, sizes, ages, run the gamut. And some of the generators that are older than others are actually more reliable than some of the younger ones. So I think Jessica's approach to developing a plan, which has been discussed here at the board level, is really going to be helpful in allowing us to better understand how to optimize the replacement of all generators.
and they're all mobile, right?
No. We have approximately 4 or 5 that are mobile, but they're actually staged, and we consider them essentially stationary. If we had to, we could put brand new tires on them and wheel them away. And then we have about 5 that are truly mobile, and then the rest are stationary.
So part of this is taking the current mapping system with
Mobile MMS?
So taking that software, and we're kickstarting Smartsheet, which is a project management software, and integrating those so that as the field crew enters data when they go out and do generator assessments, it can integrate so that we can create a real-time dashboard so that in the office we can see exactly what's going on as staff are out there doing assessments.
Great, thank you.
So just a whole lot of new ideas, and I can tell you, I think I can speak for Rebecca Callan that there's a lot of excitement in the administrative services department these days, in particular around the Smartsheet topic, and just an improved organization planning approach. So I think overall, yeah, lots of stuff that we're very excited about. So that is all I had for now, unless there's any questions for me.
Michael, if I can jump in with a question about the outcome of the auction, public auction that just took place.
Yeah, I don't have all of the details about it. I know that we exceeded our minimum bids on several items, including our backhoe up in West Point by quite a bit. But I think there were other items that we didn't get any bids on, so those we'll just repost those back to the public bidding website and maybe even just eliminate a minimum bid if we want to go that route.
Right, so the backhoe was sold for $12,100, and then the dump truck was for $5,800. And then we had a pair of doors on the site that received no bids, so that'll be placed back onto the auction site.
Oh, those are the ones that were never used.
Correct. Yep, and then we have
Did the snowcat?
snowmobile.
Oh, the snowmobile.
That's actually in auction now. I think it's at $300. I think our minimum was $600. And then we have a couple different items, including the snowcat, that will go up after the snowmobile's auction is complete.
But I think the system overall is working well. Minimal staff involvement. The buyers have to pick up as is, and the transactions are easy to complete. So I think it's working well. Nice job on that, guys.
Great call on that, Rebecca. Yeah, it's really working well.
David, I have a suggestion for you about the snowmobile. I think that people would be likely to be more interested in that thing if somebody would take a squirt bottle or a water hose and clean it up.
Yeah, that's a great picture of it, isn't it? Yeah. Duly noted, duly noted.
We didn't want to misrepresent the condition it's in.
Who would buy that?
Scott? Okay, board reports. Scott, do you have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to start off with congratulations to Director Davidson on his successful election.
That was on the top of my list and I forgot it. Sorry, Jim.
Thank you.
We were privy to an interesting competition between Congressman McClintock and Director Davidson as to who had won more re-election contests, and it turns out they're tied.
Yeah.
Seven for 7 each.
7 terms each.
Yeah.
7? Wow. Oh, yeah. Wow.
I know.
As Michael was reporting on, the DC virtual meetings have been successful, and there's a couple more to come. I think we're meeting most likely with Feinstein's office this Friday, and then another one the first week of December. I think it's with the Army Corps. Or, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Or, also we had Mountain County's meeting. We haven't had many this year because of the COVID, but we are having a virtual meeting on Friday. Also, Cameron hasn't met yet this year at all, and we do have a meeting in the boardroom at CCWD. Takes place next Wednesday. This will be at 2:30 p.m. That'll be our first camera meeting of the year. That's all I got. Thank you, Bertha.
Russ?
Yeah, I just wanted to also echo Scott's congratulations for Director Davidson. But Jeff, is there any truth to the rumor that I've heard that your principal opponent has filed lawsuits alleging election fraud?
Yeah, hard to say.
Anyway, it'll be a pleasure to be serving alongside you for at least another 2 years, man. And then I'll be up for re-election. But aside from that little moment of levity, that's all I have to report.
Okay. Cindy, your levity.
Yeah, well, that was good, Ralph. Good job, good job. I just finished the last 2 webinars for the Aqua, Zooming Through California, Region 5 and Region 8, and they were interesting, informative, and I kind of found doing the virtual meetings were actually pretty good, so I'll reconsider that Aqua conference. And then I have, well, we should have IRWM next week. I will be out of the area, but most of the stuff is virtual, so I'll still be able to attend everything. And that's it.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody that supported me, staff and the board, and but I do wish these guys would take this job a little more serious like I do. It's not all fun and games. No, but it really, was an odd election having several people that really never participated in a meeting, and they, we got to make it, you got to understand that, they got a lot of votes, and so I mean, it's important for everyone to recognize that, the public out there does not want to pay any more money, I mean, that was really what it came down to, and of course, I know how hard this board works to make that not happen. It's unrealistic. We have to recognize that, but it really is about education, and I just feel like we're gaining a lot of tools to educate the public, and, almost to a person, anybody that comes to me with a complaint about the rates or, particularly the sewer rate, it's a simple explanation, but they don't want to think about it. They don't, they won't want to talk about it, or they don't think about the economy of scale. It's just not something they think about, but, it's really important, if we want stability at the board, to really get into a public outreach, which I think we're doing. But, a lot of the things that we did today, I think will help us along that line. But it's, there was a good deal of the public that didn't vote for me. It was the most votes I've ever gotten by a long shot. I don't know I think I got 2,500 votes. So, I mean, it was certainly better than I expected my vote count to be, but, there were others that got a lot of votes. So it's just something we need to always keep in the, forefront of our mind as staff, and as directors, because there is a tolerance level that will change board members and will change general managers and will change staff. It happens all the time. So with that, again, I'm just very thankful for everybody that supported me.
Well, welcome to the board, Jeff.
I'd like maybe you could show me around later. I am proud to say I've probably only been inside 3 offices in this whole place, even since it opened. I'm sure staff's happy about that as well.
Well, I don't have too much. Other than 10 minutes at our next meeting, that's it for me, right?
Well, you have a special meeting now. We added one just for you.
Okay. I was going to say goodbye, and, I didn't need a gift or anything. That's perfectly all right. Pardon?
That was, yes, Director Ratterman, that was not a subtle hint.
We did get snow up the hill, and so that's great. Not bad enough for my studs yet, because it's Arnold. And we're talking, I was just thinking about, I drive around occasionally, and I just cannot believe how beautiful Highway 4 is. It is just, all the work that has been done for the last couple of years have just brought great results and it's just a beautiful road. If everyone has been up there lately, just go see it. Go see the colors. It's just.
Traffic is amazing. Sometimes trying to get out of where my office is, I'll sit down like, what the heck? This is Murphy's. It shouldn't be like that, but it's bad.
So other than that, I don't I don't have anything else. Information or future agenda items? I made a couple of calls to a couple of board members, asking them for any suggestions on what it is, on what we'd like in the future. And Cindy has suggested that possibly we might have some presentations on, from the various departments, talking about what they do and just presentations to the board, because it's been a long time since we've done anything in depth.
I think that's a great idea, and we have new faces, we have new directions in some cases. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Got it.
Cookies.
Okay, next board meeting, Wednesday, December 9th, 1 o'clock, and then January the 13th. Oh, yes, I did have something to talk to you, or to tell you. I will be going in for a knee replacement in, not until January, but still, that's.
A little bit.
Uh-huh. If anybody's interested in my body, I don't know.
I have a comment. Does anybody know Cynthia Trade
Oh,
from the
yes.
area? You didn't know?
Oh,
She passed
she
away on
passed-
Monday, yeah.
Oh.
She had Alzheimer's, so it was,
Yes,
it's
yes.
a blessing,
Oh.
And I know Charlie is,
Ah,
I'm sure hurting, but,
yes.
yeah. She was been around the community
Real estate.
for
Murph-
years and years. She was part owner with the Murphy's Realty.
Realty, right.
Yeah, very nice friend.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just found out today.
Yeah. Okay. Closed session? Government Code 54957.6, agency negotiators.
Can we take one quick thing? Can I
Yes,
go use
uh-huh.
the facilities for a second?
Yeah. Brad?
Has left the meeting.